I was held by kidnappers for 7 days. All because of one sentence from my CEO wife. Use him for the exchange. He's sturdy. He can take it. I am her husband. We've been married for 3 years, yet she doesn't even remember my birthday. Her childhood sweetheart had merely grazed his skin, and she was in tears, heartbroken. Meanwhile, I was living a hell worse than death in a kidnapper's den for a week. When she finally remembered to bring the ransom money, her assistant, trembling, handed her a piece of paper. Ms. Sterling, Mr. Hayes has already been picked up by the eldest daughter of your rival family. This is the divorce agreement. When the phone rang, I was stewing soup for her. Elena Sterling's voice cut through the receiver, cold, urgent. Julian has been kidnapped. I turned off the stove. The rolling bubbles in the pot went still instantly. Address, I said. The abandoned factory in the West End. They want $3 million or a person to trade places. She paused, her tone carrying an unquestionable command. You go trade for him. My hand gripped the phone, knuckles turning white. Why me? You're sturdy, you can take it, she answered quickly, as if stating the most obvious fact. Julian's health is fragile. He can't handle that. The kitchen faucet wasn't fully closed. Water dripped onto the stainless steel sink. Drip, drip, smashing into my heart. We had been married for 3 years. She never remembered my birthday, didn't know I was allergic to seafood, and didn't even know that this sturdy body had taken a knife for her 3 years ago, leaving a scar on my back to this day. That scar ached piercingly on rainy days. Today was a rainy day. Fine. I said just one word and hung up. Our wedding photo hung on the living room wall. In it, Elena was smiling slightly, but her eyes were looking elsewhere. Back then, I was full of joy, thinking it just took time to melt a block of ice. Now I knew. Ice doesn't melt for you. Ice just gives you frostbite. I didn't take anything. I just grabbed the car keys. I walked out, drove, and headed west. I didn't even think about calling the police. Because I knew that for Elena Sterling, Julian Thorne's safety was more important than anything else, including my life. The doors of the abandoned factory were wide open, like the mouth of a giant beast. I walked in. Darkness swallowed me. Then came the 7 days. How long is 7 days? It is the sound of fists landing, the dull thud of iron pipes against leg bones, the freezing shock of dirty water splashed on your face, the endless hunger and pain. Every day they asked me, where's Elena Sterling's money? I kept my eyes closed and didn't answer. I wanted to know more than they did. I started running a fever, my consciousness swaying between clarity and coma. I thought, maybe I'm going to die here. Die in a corner no one remembers. On the 7th day, I thought the end had come. The iron door made a harsh grinding sound. Light flooded in, and I subconsciously blocked my eyes with my arm. I heard footsteps, very light, stopping in front of me. Not the heavy tread of the kidnappers. I thought it was Elena. Had she finally remembered me? I struggled to lift my head, blood and sweat pasting my eyes shut, my vision a blur. Against the backlight stood a silhouette. Tall, slender, but not her. A strange female voice spoke, cool and clear. Caleb Hayes. I didn't have the strength to answer. She crouched down, brushing away the hair stuck to my forehead with blood, her movements gentle. I am Serena Vance. She looked at me, enunciating clearly. I'm here to save you. The smell of hospital disinfectant gave me a real sense of being alive. I lay in a hospital bed, my left leg in a cast, my body covered in injuries. The doctor finished his examination and shook his head as he walked out, muttering, another half day and it would have been too late. The ward was quiet. Serena Vance sat on the chair beside me, peeling an apple. Her hands were skilled. The peel came off in one continuous spiral without breaking. Why save me? I asked. My voice as raspy as sandpaper. She didn't look up, just continued peeling. Elena Sterling's biggest rival is the Vance Group, she said. She cut the peeled apple into small pieces, stuck a toothpick in one, and handed it to me. My father is the chairman of Vance Corp. For Elena's husband to be killed by kidnappers would be excellent news for us. I looked at her and didn't take it. Her reason was direct, cold, yet far more sincere than Elena's. You're sturdy. But you didn't let me die. She withdrew her hand and ate the piece herself. Her biggest weakness is now in my hands. This deal is worth it. I pulled at the corners of my mouth, but it tugged at the wounds on my face, making me hiss in pain. She didn't come, I said, stating a fact that seemed to have nothing to do with me. No, Serena said. When my people arrived, the kidnappers were getting ready to dispose of you. They waited 7 days and didn't see a dime. It was expected. My heart didn't even ripple. It was like stagnant water. Maybe it had already died on the way to the factory. Do me a favor, I said. Serena raised an eyebrow. signaling me to continue. Find me a lawyer. Half an hour later, a lawyer in a suit appeared in the ward. I leaned back against the headboard and, in the clearest language possible, stated my demands. The lawyer's pen flew across the notepad. Mr. Hayes, are you sure? Regarding the division of assets. I'm leaving with nothing, I interrupted him. Everything that belongs to her, give back to her. Everything I had before the marriage stays mine. She bought the house, it's hers. I bought the car, it's mine. The lawyer paused, then nodded. Understood. Also, I looked at him. Please get this divorce agreement to Elena Sterling, to the CEO, as soon as possible. Now. After the lawyer left, the ward fell silent again. Serena looked at me, her eyes holding a hint of curiosity. You don't seem surprised at all. No. I closed my eyes. The darkness of those 7 days flashed through my mind. It was enough. Meanwhile, at a private hospital on the east side of Chicago, Elena Sterling was nervously watching a doctor dress a scratch on Julian Thorne's hand. Doctor, will it scar? His skin is very sensitive. Rest assured, Ms. Sterling, it's just a superficial scratch. Julian, face pale, leaned against Elena and said weakly, Elena, it's all my fault. If I hadn't insisted on going out to sketch. It's not your fault. Elena immediately soothed him, her voice a gentleness I had never heard. It's my fault for not protecting you. Her assistant rushed in, looking awkward. Ms. Sterling, the $3 million is ready. The kidnappers. Only then did Elena seem to remember something, frowning slightly. Is Caleb still with them? Her tone held a trace of impatience, as if I weren't her husband, but a nuisance. Let's go ransom him. She stood up and said to Julian, Wait for me here. I'll be back soon. The convoy drove toward the abandoned factory in the west. Elena sat in the back seat, thinking about what attitude she should take when she saw Caleb. Give him some money to smooth things over? He had always been obedient and easy to dismiss. She had already prepared her speech. The car stopped at the factory entrance. The surroundings were dead silent. The assistant's phone suddenly rang. He answered, the color draining from his face instantly, his body starting to tremble. Ms. Sterling. He hung up, turned around shaking, and pulled a document just received via fax from his briefcase. Ms. Sterling, the assistant's voice cracked. Mr. Hayes. He's already been picked up by the eldest daughter of the Vance family. What did you say? The assistant handed the paper to her. At the top were the glaring words, Divorce Settlement Agreement. He dares. Elena snatched the paper, her gaze falling to the end. In the signature block, the name Caleb Hayes was written with sharp strokes, as if trying to cut through the paper. She gripped the agreement tight, knuckles white from the force. Impossible. Caleb, that man, was always docile and silent in front of her. In 3 years of marriage, he had never said no to her. His life depended on her. How dare he divorce? On what grounds? Where is he now? Elena's voice was cold as ice. The assistant answered fearfully, It seems. He's at a private sanatorium owned by Serena Vance. Drive. Go there. She crumpled the divorce agreement into a ball and threw it hard at the assistant. A rage of being betrayed by her own possession burned away her reason. She was going to drag him back and ask clearly who gave him the guts. She dialed Caleb's phone. The number you have dialed is powered off. She dialed again. Still off. Elena sat in the car, her chest heaving violently. She remembered 3 years ago when she needed a husband with a simple background to deal with family pressure to marry and those suitors with ulterior motives. Caleb appeared. His background was ordinary, his personality dull, but he looked at her with a light she didn't understand. She chose him. She thought he would be like a handy tool, staying forever where he belonged. Now, the tool wanted to rebel against its master. Meanwhile, on my end, the hospital transfer was arranged. Serena was efficient. She found me a high-end recovery center with tight security and a quiet environment. Elena won't find this place, she said. Just focus on healing. I lay in the new hospital bed, looking at the green trees outside the window. Thank you. No need. Serena sat by the bed, looking at my leg. What do you plan to do next? Heal up, finish the divorce, and then start my own life, I said. What kind of life? I thought for a moment. Writing code. Before marrying Elena, I was a programmer. My skills were decent. After we married, she said she didn't like me staring at a computer all day. So I quit my job and became her full-time house husband. Now, I just want to reclaim what belongs to me, piece by piece. Serena looked at me with some surprise. A programmer? I thought you were. Thought I was what? A freeloader. She was blunt. I smiled and didn't refute it. For the past 3 years, In everyone's eyes, I certainly was. My phone, the old SIM card, along with that unbearable past, were all thrown into the hospital trash can by me. With a new number, my contacts list was empty. I suddenly felt incredibly light. That night, I started devising a plan. A plan for the future. Step 1, physical recovery. Step 2, cut ties with Elena legally and completely. Step 3, establish my own software studio. Although I hadn't worked for a few years, I hadn't lost my expertise, and my head was full of ideas. Step 4, I looked out the window at the flickering city neon. Elena's company's main business was a high-end luxury e-commerce platform. Her platform had an outdated technical architecture and terrible user experience, propped up entirely by brand prestige. And the core of this technical architecture was built by me for her 3 years ago. I knew all its virtues and all its fatal flaws. When Elena found the hospital, she came up empty. The ward was empty, the bed made neatly as if no one had ever stayed there. She demanded answers from the hospital like a madwoman, only to receive the reply: the patient discharged himself and transferred. Destination unknown. She used all her connections to investigate. An hour later, her assistant gave her an address. It was a top-tier private sanatorium owned by Serena Vance. Elena rushed to the sanatorium gate, only to be stopped by security. "Sorry, Ms. Sterling, you cannot enter without an appointment. Get out of my way. I want to see Caleb Hayes." For the first time, she lost her composure so publicly, and I, watching the monitor in my room, calmly observed the hysterical woman at the gate. The woman I had loved for 3 years. Now, looking at her, my heart held only indifference. My phone rang. It was Serena. "She's here. Do you want to see her?" "No," I said. "She won't leave." "Then let her wait outside." I finished speaking, hung up, opened my laptop, and started typing the first line of code. The noise outside had nothing to do with me anymore. Elena stood at the gate of the sanatorium for 2 hours. From initial fury to later restlessness. And finally, when night fell and the cold wind pierced her expensive custom coat, a strange sense of powerlessness seized her. This was an experience she had never had in her life. She was used to controlling everything, used to everyone revolving around her will. Caleb was the most inconspicuous and obedient of her possessions. She never thought this possession would deliver the most humiliating blow in this way. The security guards were like a wall, impervious to threats or bribes. The answer was always that cold line: no appointment, no entry. She pulled strings, made countless calls, but the results chilled her heart. The backing of this sanatorium ran too deep. Her influence couldn't stir a ripple here. Finally, she had to retreat to her car in disgrace. The assistant didn't dare breathe loud. "Go back and investigate." Elena's voice was hoarse, suppressing anger. "Find out exactly what the relationship is between Caleb and Serena Vance. When did they hook up?" She couldn't accept it. That man, who dared not even lift his head in front of her, how could he climb up to a woman like Serena? It must be a trap Serena set to deal with her. Caleb was just a pawn being used. Yes, that must be it. Thinking this way made her feel slightly better. She returned home, pushed open the door, and inside was pitch black and cold. Usually at this time, no matter how late, a light would be left on for her in the living room. In the kitchen, there would be warm soup. Caleb would walk out of the study or bedroom, take her bag, and ask softly, "You're back? Are you tired?" She never responded. She felt it was what he should do. But today there was nothing. Only dead silence. She stood in the entryway, suddenly feeling that this home she had lived in for 3 years had become incredibly strange. The air seemed to retain Caleb's scent, but the man was gone. For the first time, she felt an emotion called emptiness. Just then, her phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. She picked up, and a voice she knew to her bones, yet strange enough to make her heart tremble, came through. "Ms. Sterling." It was Caleb. He didn't call her Elena, but Ms. Sterling. The title was like a needle, pricking her heart numb. "Caleb," she immediately shouted sternly. "Have you caused enough trouble? Come back immediately." There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then my calm voice sounded again. "Is Ms. Sterling calling to agree to the divorce?" "Keep dreaming." Elena skringet. "Caleb, I tell you, as long as I don't sign, you will always be my husband. Don't even think about leaving me." "Is that so?" My voice held no emotion. "Then wait for the court summons. Also, a word of advice for Ms. Sterling. Instead of wasting time on me, you'd be better off checking your company's firewall. After all, it's 3-year-old tech. There must be quite a few loopholes." With that, I hung up directly and blocked the number. In the sanatorium room, I put down the phone Serena handed me and nodded to her. Thanks. Serena waved the phone. He seems to still have feelings for you. I smiled self-mockingly. That's not feelings. That's the anger of losing control over a possession. I knew her too well. She didn't love me. She loved my obedience, her absolute control over my life. Now, I had taken back my freedom. I was going to let her know exactly what she had lost. I opened my laptop, the screen's light reflecting on my face. I looked at a piece of code I had just finished, a precise scanning program capable of pinpointing all backdoors and vulnerabilities in a specific network architecture. For example, Elena's company's e-commerce platform. That was the empire I built for her with my own hands. Now, it was time for me to sound its death knell myself. The next half-month was unusually disciplined. Rehabilitation training every morning, coding all afternoon and evening. My leg was improving day by day. I could already walk slowly with cane. And my new project was advancing rapidly. Serena became a regular visitor to my ward. She no longer looked at me with scrutiny or utility, but became genuinely interested in what I was doing. She would pull up a chair and sit beside me, watching the code scroll rapidly across my screen, occasionally asking a question or two. What is this you're making? A completely new underlying architecture for e-commerce, I explained. Safer, more efficient, with computing power 3 times that of the current mainstream architectures and lower cost. Serena's eyes lit up. Born into a business family, she immediately understood the value of this thing. Who do you want to sell it to? Not selling. I shook my head. I'm going to use it to build a platform that belongs entirely to me. A free, open-source developer community where the service and security far exceed all paid platforms. Serena was stunned. Free? Then how do you make money? Reputation, I said. In the tech field, a top-tier reputation is worth more than money. I want everyone to know who the real authority in this field is. I didn't want money. I wanted a voice. I wanted Elena to watch helplessly as the thing she once dismissed became a height she could never reach. Serena was silent for a long time, then smiled. Caleb, you're a madman, but I like it. She stood up and extended her hand to me. Let's formally introduce ourselves. Serena Vance, your future partner, your tech, plus the Vance family's resources and channels. We can make this huge. I looked at her, then reached out and shook her hand. Caleb Hayes. Our cooperation truly began from this moment. On the other side, my lawyer reported that the divorce lawsuit wasn't going smoothly. Elena refused to sign and used her legal team to delay the court date on the grounds that marital relations have not completely broken down. She wants to drag you out, the lawyer said over the phone. Mr. Hayes, in cases like this, if one party firmly disagrees, the first lawsuit often won't grant the divorce. We need to wait for a 6-month cooling-off period before suing a second time. It doesn't matter, I said calmly. Just follow the procedure. I'm in no rush. I really wasn't in a rush. A marriage certificate couldn't trap me anymore. While she thought she could control me with that piece of paper, I had already started my game. A week later, on a top domestic tech forum, an anonymous technical analysis article signed C was quietly published. The article title was an investigation into 7 fatal security vulnerabilities in the Aegis architecture. The Aegis architecture was the very underlying framework I had designed for Elena's e-commerce platform 3 years ago. Only her company's core technical team and I knew this name. The article didn't name names. It was purely from a technical perspective, using the most detailed, irrefutable arguments to dissect every fatal weakness of this architecture in the current network environment. This article was like a depth charge. Initially, it just circulated within small tech circles, but soon, its professionalism and subversive nature attracted the attention of more and more heavyweights. Repost, discussion, vérification. Then, the entire internet security circle exploded. Any company using architecture similar to Aegis felt like they had been stripped naked, exposed to the eyes of every hacker. A panic targeting the Sterling Group e-commerce platform was quietly spreading. Elena found out about this during a crucial investor meeting. Her chief technology officer, CTO, rushed into the conference room, face pale, interrupting her speech. Ms. Sterling, something bad has happened. Elena frowned, displeased with his loss of composure. What is it that has you so panicked? The CTO handed the tablet to her, his voice trembling. Look at this. Our platform's technical architecture has been completely dissected and published online. Now rumors are flying that our platform could be breached at any moment. Several partner brands have already called to inquire. Elena took the tablet and looked at the article's sign. See, the name Aegis. It made her heart skip a beat. She suddenly remembered what Caleb had said on the phone that day. Instead of wasting time on me, You'd be better off checking your company's firewall. After all, it's 3-year-old tech. There must be quite a few loopholes. It was him. The thought sprang up, freezing her to the bone. She had always thought Caleb was just a programmer who knew some code, an accessory she could discard at will. She never imagined he possessed such terrifying power. That article was like a scalpel, precisely cutting open the heart of the business empire she was most proud of, exposing its most fragile parts to the world. Useless. She couldn't suppress her anger, slamming the tablet onto the floor. I pay so many of you, and you can't find a single bug? Fix it immediately. At all costs, minimize the impact. The meeting ended unhappily. Investors left with looks of doubt and caution. Sitting in the empty conference room, Elena felt a panic she had never known before. This terrified her more than the kidnapper's ransom demand, because this shook the foundation of her career. She returned to her office, subconsciously wanting to find someone to talk to, only to find she couldn't find a single person in her contacts list. Just then, Julian called. He had been recuperating at home since his discharge, his voice sounding weak as always. Elena, I heard something happened to the company. Are you okay? If it were usual, she might have patiently comforted him. But right now, Julian's concern only made her incredibly irritable. Wasn't he the cause of all this? If it weren't to trade for him, she wouldn't have reached this point with Caleb. Caleb wouldn't be retaliating this way. I'm fine, she interrupted him coldly. Just rest. With that, she hung up. Irritated, she clicked on the news, and a financial alert popped up. Vance Group invests millions to back emerging tech team C-Labs, high-profile entry into e-commerce infrastructure market. In the news photo, Serena Vance stood in the center of the press conference in a sharp business suit. And beside her stood a man. The man wore a fitted dark gray suit, posture upright, hair groomed meticulously. Though he leaned on a cane, he didn't look pathetic at all. Instead, it added an air of steady elegance. He turned his head, saying something to Serena, a faint, confident smile on his lips. His eyes were bright and sharp, like stars tempered in fire. That was Caleb Hayes. A radiant Caleb she had never seen before, a stark contrast to the man in her memory who always wore old T-shirts, taciturn with dim eyes. Elena stared fixedly at the photo. Her heart felt clenched by an invisible hand, hurting so much she couldn't breathe. It turned out he wasn't incapable of shining. It was just that his light never shone for her. Her hands trembling, she dialed the number she had long blocked. This time, she didn't roar. Her voice held a panic she hadn't realized and a trace of pleading. Caleb, let's talk, okay? Her answer was the cold system prompt. Hello, the user you have dialed is on another call. Please try again later. She didn't know that at this moment, I was standing with Serena in the newly rented office of C-Labs, watching the traffic outside. My new phone had no missed calls, because all of Elena's numbers had long been permanently blocked by me. Her world was in chaos, and my new world had just begun. Elena never imagined she would be the one shut out. Standing downstairs at the high-tech park where C-Labs was located, the receptionist politely but distantly told her, Sorry, Ms. Sterling, you cannot go up without an appointment. Mr. Hayes is in a meeting. That sentence again, identical to the sanatorium's security. Blood rushed her head. She gripped her platinum bag, nails digging deep into the expensive leather. Through the clean floor-to-ceiling glass of the lobby, she could see young people wearing C-Labs badges walking by the elevators, their faces glowing with a vitality and excitement long absent from her own company. This was Caleb's new world, a new world without her, born because of her. She sat in her car for an entire afternoon. She saw Caleb and Serena walk out of the building side by side. Serena was laughing, and Caleb tilted his head slightly to listen, his face showing a genuine relaxation she had never seen. The sunset bathed them in a golden glow, creating a harmony that stung her eyes. In that moment, an emotion deeper than anger and unwillingness, like freezing seawater, drowned Elena. It was panic. She realized Caleb was truly moving away from her. Not throwing a tantrum, not playing hard to get, but building a brand new life she could not set foot in. She drove back to the empty house, feeling a bone-deep loneliness for the first time. She opened the fridge. It was empty. Only a jar of sauce sat in the corner, something she didn't recognize. She remembered. It was a mushroom sauce Caleb made himself. When she used to work late, he would use this sauce to mix a bowl of noodles for her. She never said it was good nor bad. She just ate silently and continued working. Now, that jar sat there quietly, like a silent mockery. The company situation was worse than she imagined. C's article spread like a virus, not just in tech circles, but even ordinary consumers knew about her platform's security risks. In just a few days, daily active users dropped by 30%, and several brands about to sign contracts urgently halted cooperation. The board had already called 2 emergency meetings, every word questioning her poor decision-making. Her father, the old chairman, called her, his tone harsher than ever. "Elena, I told you long ago, marriage isn't a game, and it certainly isn't a tool. You know how you treated Caleb. Now, you must personally invite him back. Otherwise, you clean up this mess yourself." Hanging up, Elena slumped in her chair. Invite. Once upon a time, she had only commands for Caleb. She picked up her phone, found the block number, and sent a text using her assistant's phone. She edited the content for half an hour, finally leaving just a few words. "Caleb, let's meet. At the old place." The old place was the cafe where they first met. She thought this would at least evoke a shred of memory. However, she waited for 2 hours, the phone quiet as a stone. Instead, Serena called her, her tone relaxed like chatting. "Ms. Sterling, instead of wasting time on my partner, you should worry about your stock price. Oh, right, I forgot to tell you, Caleb is allergic to seafood. Don't crowd him in the future. I'm afraid something might happen to him." With that, Serena hung up. Elena gripped the phone, cold all over. Seafood allergy. She had never known. My first official celebration dinner with Serena was at a very private Hawaiian cuisine restaurant. C-Lab's first angel round was going smoothly. The Vance family investment was just a stepping stone. Several top VC firms had caught the scent and offered valuations far exceeding our expectations. "You're the hot commodity in the circle now." Serena poured me tea, smiling. "Those VC bosses are about to break down my door just to see you." "Just a good tech demo," I said calmly. "More than that." Serena shook her head, her eyes serious. "What they see is that ruthlessness in you. Ruthless to yourself, and even more ruthless to your enemies." I smiled and didn't speak. The waiter began serving dishes. One was steamed crab, rich with roe and meat, smelling delicious. Serena immediately frowned and said to the waiter, "Please take this dish away and exchange it for something else." She turned to me with a hint of apology. "Sorry, I overlooked it. I forgot you don't eat seafood." I was slightly stunned. "How did you know?" "I saw your medical report from the hospital last time," she answered, as if it were natural. "It said you have an allergic constitution, especially to shellfish. As a partner, I have to keep these things in mind." I looked at her, something in my heart gently touched. In 3 years of marriage, Elena probably only knew my name was Caleb Hayes. Yet Serena, whom I'd known for barely a month, had already memorized my physical vulnerabilities. The atmosphere of the meal was excellent. We talked about future plans, about code, the market, and how to build a grander tech empire. My spirit was relaxed and focused as never before. This was the world I truly loved and excelled in. After dinner, Serena drove me back to the sanatorium. Just as the car stopped at the entrance, a figure rushed out of the shadows and blocked the car. It was Elena. She looked haggard. Her usual exquisite makeup couldn't hide the fatigue and pallor on her face. She stared fixedly at the passenger seat, at me. I rolled down the window, looking at her expressionlessly. "Something wrong. Caleb, get out. We need to talk." Her voice was hoarse, carrying an imperceptible tremor. "I don't think we have anything to talk about," I said. "If it's about the company, you're looking for the wrong person. In business, may the best man win." "It's not about the company," she interrupted urgently. "It's about us. Caleb, what will it take for you to come back? You want money? I can give it to you. I'll give you 10% of my private shares. Is that enough?" I almost laughed out loud. Even now, she still thought everything could be measured by money. "Ms. Sterling." I leaned back in the seat, speaking faintly. "Do you think everyone treats feelings in marriage as a transaction like you do?" Choked by my words, her face turned even uglier. "Let me ask you, in those 7 days I was locked in the abandoned factory, what were you doing?" I looked in her eyes, asking word by word. "You were with your Julian, heartbroken over a tiny scratch on his hand. Did you ever think that at that moment, your husband was having his legs broken with an iron bar?" Elena's body swayed violently, her lips losing all color. I thought. You thought I was sturdy, that I could take it, right?" I finished a sentence I would never forget. "Elena, you didn't think, you just didn't care. In your heart, my life isn't worth a single hair on Julian's head. Now that your company's foundation is shaken, you remember me. You want to use money to buy back this useful tool to repair your empire. Too late." I rolled up the window, not sparing her another glance. "Drive," I told the driver. The car started slowly, bypassing the woman frozen in place, drained of all strength. In the rearview mirror, her figure grew smaller and smaller, finally turning into a blurred, disappearing into the night. That was once my entire world. Now, it was just irrelevant scenery on the side of the road. Elena didn't know how she got home. Every word Caleb said was like an ice-tempered knife, repeatedly slicing through her already tattered self-esteem. It turned out he knew everything. He wasn't ignorant. He just hadn't spoken before. He used silence to encompass all her selfishness and indifference, until she crushed that tolerance with her own hands. She walked into the dark living room, tripped over the coffee table, and fell. Pain shot through her knee where it hit the floor. Sitting awkwardly on the cold floor, tears poured out without warning. She cried, not because of the company crisis, not because of her father's scolding, but because of Caleb's too late. Those 2 words pronounced the death sentence on all her regret. The next day, the Sterling Group's stock opened at the limit down. When a wall is falling, everyone pushes. Negative news about the platform's security was everywhere. Several long-term cooperating evaluation agencies also released negative reports. Useres fleden masse, merchants can plan viterli. She scrambled to handle it all, only to find herself powerless. The tech team tried everything, but couldn't fix the underlying vulnerabilities pointed out by C. Because the core logic of the entire architecture was clear only to Caleb. Just as she was mentally and physically exhausted, Julian came to the company. He carried a thermos, wearing his usual gentle smile. Elena, seeing you so tired lately, I made you some soup. Drink it while it's hot. Before, Elena might have been moved, but now, seeing his unworldly appearance, she only felt irritation. The company is in such big trouble, and all you know is making soup? She snapped. Julian froze, looking at her hurt. I was just worried about your health. Worry, Elena snitted. If you were really worried, when I told you to go handle the Caleb situation, why didn't you stand up and say he's your husband too? If it weren't for you, would things have become like this today? She vented all her pent-up resentment on this man she once protected at all costs. Julian's face turned pale, lips trembling, unable to say a word. Seeing his fragility, the last shred of affection in Elena's heart wore away. She waved her hand as if shooing a fly. Go, I don't want to see you. After sending Julian away, she received a call from her lawyer. Ms. Sterling, Mr. Hayes' side has submitted new evidence. The lawyer's tone was unusually grave. It's all the work records of the technical development and maintenance he did for your company for free during the marriage. Our legal advisors have evaluated it. If he pursues the value of this labor, it could involve a redetermination of company equity. This is very unfavorable for us. Elena felt the world spin. Caleb was pulling the firewood from under the cauldron. Not only did he want a divorce, but he also wanted to take the share that belonged to him from the career she was most proud of. She was finally afraid. She thoroughly realized exactly what kind of person she had lost. She grabbed the phone on the desk, trembling as she dialed her lawyer, voice hoarse, carrying a humbleness and compromise never seen before. Tell Mr. Hayes' lawyer, I agree to the divorce. All conditions, exactly as he proposed. I only want to see him one last time. Meanwhile, I was standing in the brand new office of C Labs, looking out the window. Serena walked over and handed me a file. Good news. Europe's largest luxury e-commerce platform, Elysian, contacted us proactively, hoping we can help upgrade their entire line of technology. They were the client Elena wanted to land the most. I took the file and nodded. My phone vibrated, a message from my lawyer. Mr. Hayes, the other party has agreed to the uncontested divorce and waived all property disputes. She has only one request. She wants to see you one last time. I looked at the blue sky outside, silent for a moment. Then, I replied with one word. No. The divorce agreement was delivered via the lawyer's express courier. A few thin sheets of paper landed on my desk, yet they felt like they weighed a ton. On the last page, Elena's signature was flamboyant, carrying a trace of her usual lofty scrawl. But at the end of the last stroke, one could see a jarring, slightly trembling ink smudge, as if signing those words had exhausted all her strength. My lawyer said on the phone, Mr. Hayes, the other party has fully agreed to all our conditions, and the division of assets is complete. Legally speaking, you and Ms. Sterling no longer have any relationship. Good. I hung up, picked up the agreement, glanced at it, and then threw it into the shredder by my hand. The harsh motor sound rang out. That oppressive 3-year marriage, along with that woman's name, was cut into unassemblable fragments. No thrill of victory, no joy of revenge. In my heart, there was only the calm of dust settling. Like pulling a tooth that had been rotten for a long time. The process might be bloody, but once it's out, the whole world is clean. When Serena pushed the door open, I was at the computer refining the project plan for C Lab's first commercial venture. She glanced at the whirring shredder, then at my calm profile, and smartly asked nothing. She simply placed a steaming cup of coffee by my hand and whispered, "The first technical briefing with Elysian is in half an hour. Here is their preliminary requirement document." Okay. I took the document, my eyes immediately drawn to the dense technical parameters. The aroma of coffee filled the air, mixed with the faint smell of ink and the unique scent of running electronics in the new office. My fingers danced across the keyboard, rows of code constructing a brand new world before my eyes. This was the life I should have had. Focus, creation, turning wisdom into power that changes the world. And Elena Sterling was just a feverish nightmare before this life began. Now, the dream was over. On the other side, Elena's world was just beginning to collapse. When her lawyer told her that Caleb had refused her request for a final meeting, she was sitting in that empty, cold home. The massive crystal chandelier emitted a pale light, illuminating her equally pale face. "Won't see me." She murmured the words, as if unable to understand their meaning. How could he not see her? She had laid down all her pride, agreed to all the humiliating conditions. She just wanted to see him one last time, to personally say, "I'm sorry." Why wouldn't he give her even this chance? She stood up unsteadily, wandering through the familiar house. Everything here used to be kept in perfect order by Caleb. The coat she casually took off would appear neatly in the cloakroom the next day. If she wanted water at midnight, a cup of perfectly warm water was always on the bedside table. If she mentioned wanting to eat something, it would appear on the dining table the next day. She had always thought this was matter of course. Now, in this home, there was only cold furniture and dead air. She walked to the kitchen and opened the fridge. Empty. In the corner, she saw that jar of mushroom sauce Kayla made. She took it out, dug a little with a spoon, and put it in her mouth. Very fragrant, with a hint of spice, a familiar taste. For 3 years, she had eaten countless bowls of noodles he mixed with his sauce, yet she never asked how he made it, never told him it's good. She suddenly wanted to make a bowl of noodles herself. She found the noodles, boiled water, but was at a loss looking for seasoning. She didn't know where the salt was, didn't know how much soy sauce to use. In the end, the noodles were a mess, salty, astringent, hard to swallow. Holding that bowl of noodles, squatting on the cold kitchen tiles, she finally cried out loud like a lost child. The crying echoed in the empty villa, but no one would ever walk over again, awkwardly but gently patting her back, asking softly, "What's wrong?" A few days later, a dark red divorce certificate was placed on her vanity next to the marriage certificate. One was a beginning, one was an end. She picked up the divorce certificate, seeing her name and Caleb's separated on 2 pages, like 2 strangers who would never intersect again. Her hands trembled, a severe pain of being completely stripped away, uprooted, almost suffocated her. She finally understood that she hadn't lost a husband, a nanny, or a tool. She had lost the only person in this world who loved her more than himself. And all of this was her own doing. Time is the best medicine and the sharpest carving knife. 6 months later, C Labs had leaped from a startup team to a top-tier tech lab, renowned domestically and across Asia. Our free, open-source Morningstar architecture swept through the developer community in just a few months due to its unparalleled security, efficiency, and ultra-low deployment cost, hailed as an epic-making initiative. Countless small and medium e-commerce platforms benefited, and we dragged the industry's technical standards up a level. Our cooperation with European luxury giant Elysian became a benchmark case in the industry. We not only rebuilt their underlying systems, but used AI algorithms to create a frighteningly precise user profiling system, boosting their online sales by 60% against the trend. C Labs became famous, and I walked from the shadows into the spotlight. At a world-class internet summit, as the keynote speaker, I delivered a speech titled "The Technological Singularity of the Next Decade." Wearing a suit Serena chose for me, I stood in the center of a venue holding thousands. Behind me, a massive LED screen flashing the starry logo of our Morningstar architecture. My leg was fully healed, my stride steady. I didn't use a script, just used a steady, clear voice to explain my tech philosophy and vision for the future to the world. Below sat the CEOs and founders of every nameable tech giant. In their eyes were shock, admiration, and contemplation. I saw a whole new world unfolding before me, and I stood at its center. When the speech ended, the audience erupted in thunderous applause. I walked off stage. Serena was waiting for me, her eyes astonishingly bright, holding the light of the stars. "Caleb," she handed me a bottle of water, sighing sincerely, You were born for this. I smiled, took a sip, and looked at the crowd still discussing heatedly. Yes, this was my battlefield. Meanwhile, the atmosphere at the Sterling Group headquarters was grim. To cope with the plummeting stock price and mass brand exodus, Elena was forced to sell the company's two most profitable non-core businesses and lay off nearly a third of the staff just to stabilize the situation. But the company was severely damaged, falling from industry leader to a second-rate level, struggling to survive. She was no longer the undisputed queen. At board meetings, she could only grit her teeth through the doubts and reprimands of the elders. Subordinates who once fawned over her now looked at her with contempt and distance. The TV in her office was broadcasting the Internet Summit. She saw Caleb on stage. He looked so strange, yet so familiar. Strange was the effortless confidence and radiance. Familiar were his deep eyes and straight nose bridge. Every technical term he spoke, every future blueprint he described, was like a knife plunging deep into her heart. He knew so much. He had such grand ambition and talent. And in 3 years of marriage, she never cared, never noticed. She only thought him dull, boring, a nerd unworthy of her. How laughable. Just then, Julian walked in. He still looked frail, holding a bouquet of flowers. Elena, don't be too tired. The weather's nice outside. Shall I accompany you for a walk? If it were before, Elena might have felt moved. But now, looking at his detached from reality appearance, she felt an uncontrollable disgust. It was for this man, for his hypochondriac fragility, that she gave up her true treasure. Get out. She squeezed the word through her teeth. Julian froze, dropping the flowers. Elena, you... I said, get out. Do you not understand English? Take your flowers and get out of my world. I never want to see you again in my life. She finally understood that her so-called love was just possessiveness over an exquisite doll. And now, she didn't even have the energy or mood to possess it. Julian, frightened pale by the finality in her eyes, scrambled out of the office. In a huge office, only Elena remained, with the radiant man on the TV. One in the sky, one in the mud. She slowly slid to the floor, weeping silently. She knew that between her world and Caleb's, there was now a chasm she could never cross in this lifetime. 1 year later, late autumn night, a charity auction gala was being held at the city's premier hotel. Serena and I attended as representatives of C-Labs. This year, C-Labs achieved massive commercial success, and we established a special charity fund dedicated to funding tech education in impoverished areas. Wearing a dark blue velvet suit, I moved through the fragrance and shadows, handling the commercial flattery and social pleasantries with ease. Serena, in a long burgundy dress, stood by my side, smilingly introducing me to guests from all sectors. Our tacit understanding needed no words. A look was enough. Halfway through the banquet, I want to get a glass of champagne. As I turned, my steps paused. Not far away, a somewhat lonely figure stood in an inconspicuous corner. It was Elena. She saw me too. She had lost a lot of weight. The fitted gown looked a bit empty on her. She wore exquisite makeup, but couldn't hide the bone-deep haggardness and desolation. She was no longer the focus of the crowd. No assistant, no friends, just holding a glass alone, like an outsider who wandered in by mistake. I heard the Sterling Group had undergone a difficult restructuring and had been taken back by her father. She retained only a nominal directorship, completely fading from management. Our eyes met in the air. Time seemed to freeze. I thought I would see hate, resentment, unwillingness. But there was none. In those eyes that once brimmed with coldness and disdain, now only remained a sorrow too thick to dissolve, and a regret bordering on despair. And me? My heart was completely calm. No hate, no love, not even a trace of revenge's thrill. I was looking at a stranger, a passerby, with no connection in my life. The pain of those 3 years, the torture of that week, seemed to have turned into a black and white movie I had watched, the plot twisted but distant. I gave her a slight nod. It was the most distant, polite gesture, like a farewell, or like saying, everything is in the past. Then, I turned around and walked towards Serena without hesitation. Elena watched my retreating back, watched me walk naturally to Serena, watched Serena smile and adjust my bow tie, watched us whisper and laugh. The glass in her hand slipped and shattered. Red wine bloomed on the carpet like blood. But no one looked back, and no one cared. Serena noticed my distraction and asked softly, "What's wrong? See someone you know?" I shook my head, giving her a genuine smile. "No, just thought the lighting tonight is nice." She smiled too, eyes curving like crescents. The auction continued. One item was a star model made of discarded electronic components by children in the mountains. Rough, but full of imagination. The starting price wasn't high, but no one bid. I raised my paddle. After a few rounds, I won it. Serena asked, puzzled, "You like this?" "No." I looked at the model and said softly, "I want the child who made this to know that someone sees his dream." Serena looked at me, something in her eyes turning incredibly soft. The banquet ended, and we walked out of the hotel side by side. It was drizzling outside, very similar to the day I was rescued from that factory a year ago. A car stopped in front of us, the driver opening the door. I didn't get in immediately, but stopped, turned to look at Serena. Raindrops landed on her hair. The street lamp haloed her in soft light. "Serena." I looked seriously into her eyes. Tomorrow, let's go look at houses," I said. Serena paused slightly. Then immense surprise and joy burst from her eyes, startlingly bright. She didn't speak, just nodded vigorously, eyes slightly red. I reached out and gently held her hand. Her hand was warm. We got into the car together, driving smoothly into the rainy night. I didn't look back at the brightly lit hotel, nor did I think about the woman living in regret. My new world had already begun. Outside the window, the city neon flowed like a galaxy leading to the future. And this time, I was no longer alone. The house hunting was faster than I imagined. Serena didn't choose those gaudy, overly ostentatious mansions, but took me to a hillside villa area in the eastern suburbs. Far from the noise, shaded by trees, every unit enjoyed excellent privacy and wide views. We finally chose a modern glass villa. 3 sides were massive floor-to-ceiling windows. Standing in the living room, you could take in the distant city skyline and the nearby mountains and lakes. "I like it here." I stood on the second-floor terrace, feeling the fresh mountain breeze. "It's quiet." Serena hugged me gently from behind, chin on my shoulder, smiling. "I knew you'd like it. It's a 40-minute drive to the office, not too far, not too close." Most importantly, she pointed to a detached annex next to the villa that can be converted into your exclusive lab. "Soundproof it well, and even if you run servers sounding like jet engines, I won't hear in the main house." My heart warmed. I turned and pulled her into my arms. "Thank you, Serena." "Thank me for what?" She looked up, my reflection in her eyes. "Thank me for respecting you as an independent person, not an accessory." "Caleb, that's what you deserved all along." I lowered my head and kissed her lips. This kiss held no lust, only fullness of warmth and gratitude. During 3 years with Elena, I lived in her cold, museum-like villa. All my personal items had to be placed in designated spots out of her sight. My professional books were deemed to ruin the decor and stuffed in the bottom cabinet of the study. My only high-spec computer was restricted to 2 hours a day because she claimed the radiation was high. She killed everything about me, yet thought it was for my own good, to help me integrate into high society. But Serena, she was thinking about how to build a world where I could run free. Who truly loved me? The answer was self-evident. On signing day, Serena and I sat side by side in the real estate VIP room. When I signed Serena Vance in the co-owner column of the purchase contract, her hand squeezed mine tightly under the table. I could feel the moisture and slight tremor in her palm. I squeezed back, giving her a reassuring smile. This paper signed with both our names was far heavier than that marriage certificate now turned to dust. That certificate was a shackle. This paper was a promise. Serena took over the renovation entirely. She understood lifestyle aesthetics better than I did and enjoyed the process of building our common home. I poured all my energy into work. The success of Morningstar was just the first step. My ambition went far beyond that. I wanted to build a completely new, decentralized data ecosystem based on blockchain technology. In this system, every user's data would truly belong to them, not be arbitrarily harvested by platforms. It was a crazy idea capable of overturning existing internet business models. When I told Serena this idea, she just listened quietly. Afterward, she was silent for a long time, then looked at me, eyes burning with a flame hotter than mine. "Caleb, if you can realize this idea, you will change the world." She said, "Go for it. Don't worry about money. Even if I bet the entire Vance family, I support you." I looked at her, heart surging. A scholar dies for his soulmate. It must be this feeling. 3 months later, our new home was finished. Move-in day was a sunny weekend. We didn't hire movers because I had almost no personal belongings. All furniture, appliances, daily items were handpicked by Serena. I only brought 1 box containing all my tech notes from over the years and a few clothes. Standing in this spacious, bright living room full of life, watching Serena flit like a happy butterfly between the kitchen and living room preparing our first dinner, An emotion called happiness genuinely and warmly surrounded me. "Caleb, come taste my cooking." She held a plate of stir-fried eggs with tomatoes that didn't look great, shouting excitedly. I walked over, picked up chopsticks, and tasted. The flavor was indescribable. She looked at me nervously. "How is it?" "Good." I looked at the dab of tomato sauce on her face, at her expectant eyes, and smiled. I put down the chopsticks, pulled a tissue, and gently wiped the sauce from her face. "It's terrible," I said. Her face fell immediately, like a child who did something wrong. But I pulled her into my arms, whispering in her ear, "From now on, I'll do the cooking in our house." She froze, then nodded vigorously in my arms, laughing. That night, we didn't turn on the lights. Moonlight spilled through the huge windows, frosting the floor in silver. We lay on the sofa hugging, chatting from work to life, from past to future. I had never been so relaxed and content. This house was no longer a cold building, but our home, a harbor where I could drop all defenses and sleep peacefully. And that so-called home from before, I had thoroughly forgotten it in the corner of memory, unwilling to touch it even a bit. My life with Serena quickly got on track. I managed the external, responsible for C-Lab's R&D and strategy. She managed the internal, keeping our home organized while using her business acumen to handle all tedious business cooperation and capital docking. We were lovers and the most tacit comrades. On weekends, we acted like a normal couple, movies, art galleries, or just staying in a home theater all day. I never thought life could be so cozy and full. One afternoon, Serena dragged me to a new designer furniture store to pick decorations for my lab. I knew nothing about this, following her, watching her excitedly discuss with the sales clerk whether a potted plant had breathing sense. Just as I was boringly checking my phone, a sharp, familiar voice, like a poisonous thorn, pierced my ear without warning. "Caleb." I looked up and saw the person I least wanted to see again. Julian Thorne. He stood not far away, looking incredulous. He had changed a lot. The man who used to wear clean white shirts, radiating an unworldly artistic aura, now looked wretched. His hair was greasy, eyes sunken, beard stubbly, expensive cashmere coat stained with unknown spots, radiating an aura of decadence and destitution. Elena wasn't with him. Seeing me, he was first shocked, then a complex mix of jealousy, resentment, and humiliation flashed across his face. His gaze fell on me, from my tailored suit to the Patek Philippe Serena gave me, finally settling on Serena, who was looking back at me. Serena's beauty and elegance were things the Ice Mountain CEO, Elena, didn't possess. She was like a warm, bright flame. Just standing there was enough to attract everyone's gaze. This stark contrast clearly stung Julian deeply. "It really is you." He staggered toward me, eyes carrying a hint of madness. "You're very proud now, aren't you? You ruined Elena so badly. Are you proud now?" Serena frowned, walking quickly to my side, looking at Julian unkindly. I patted her hand gently, signaling her to relax. Then I looked at Julian, eyes as calm as if looking at a totally unrelated stranger. "Sir, you have the wrong person." My voice wasn't loud, but clearly reached his ears. He froze, as if not expecting this reaction. "You? What did you say? You don't know me?" "Caleb, stop pretending. If it weren't for you, how would Elena be like this today? It's all your fault." He screamed excitedly, causing people around to look sideways. Security. I didn't pay him any more attention, just took out my phone to call mall security. My indifference was more crushing to him than any heated words. "What gives you the right to treat me like this?" He suddenly rushed forward, trying to grab my collar. "You ruined her, and you ruined me. You despicable villain." I didn't even move. A figure blocked him faster than me. It was Serena. She raised her hand, precisely and forcefully grabbing Julian's wrist, eyes cold as ice. "Get your dirty hands off," she said word by word. "I don't care who you are. Touch him again, and I guarantee you will completely disappear from the city." Serena's aura of authority instantly subdued the frantic Julian. He looked at Serena, then me, the madness in his eyes fading, replaced by bone-deep fear and despair. He finally understood that the Caleb before him was no longer the wimp they could bully. The height he stood at now was something he and Elena combined couldn't reach. Mall security arrived. Julian was dragged away, still incoherently cursing. I took Serena's hand and turned to leave, too lazy to give him another look. "You okay?" Back in the car, Serena looked at me worriedly. "That lunatic didn't scare you?" I shook my head, pulling her hand to my lips for a kiss. "I'm fine. Just thought it was noisy." "Yes, noisy. Like a fly buzzing in the ear. Annoying, nothing more. You seem to not hate him at all." Serena looked at me thoughtfully. Why hate? I smiled, starting the car. Hating someone takes energy and requires keeping them in your heart. Serena, my heart is small. Holding you and our future fills it up. No room left for irrelevant trash. The car drove smoothly away from the mall. I didn't see that after I left, Julian was kicked out by security, falling miserably to the ground. He watched my car, the limited edition Bentley Mulsanne Serena, gave me for my birthday, speed away. Like a stray dog abandoned by its master, he let out a despairing whimper. Elena saw this scene on the evening financial news. Someone had filmed the conflict, edited it into gossip news. C-Lab's founder Caleb Hayes in intense clash with unidentified man. Elena watched the video of the wretched man being dragged away and instantly recognized Julian. In the corner of the video, Caleb was carefully shielded by Serena, his face rippling with nothing. She turned off the TV, picked up her phone to call Julian. But halfway through dialing, she put it down. What could she say? Comfort him? Blame him? She suddenly felt incredibly tired. This mess created by her own hands was like an invisible net trapping her. And the man she thought could never leave her had long flown out of this net, toward his own clear sky. Deep winter, heavy snow. The Sterling Group held its last board meeting of the year. The topic was whether to completely shut down the e-commerce business that had lost money for 4 consecutive quarters. Elena attended as a figurehead director. She sat at the very end of the table, listening to her father and directors discuss surgically removing her once proud life's work from the group's map like necrotic flesh. No one asked her opinion. She was like a transparent person, a symbol of shame. After the meeting, everyone left in a hurry. No one greeted her. Soon she was alone in the huge conference room. Outside, snow fell silently, clothing the city in white. Looking at the gray sky, she suddenly remembered many years ago, on a snowy day like this, she worked late. Caleb waited in that old car, downstairs, for 3 hours. When she got in, she didn't say thanks, just complained about the cold and why the heater wasn't on. Caleb said nothing, just pulled a thermos for the passenger seat. Inside was piping hot cocoa. He said, I know you get cold easily. Drink something hot first. Back then, she didn't care. Now, the memory was a dull knife sawing back and forth on her heart. She returned to the empty villa and opened her computer. Pop-up news about C-Labs appeared automatically. C-Labs announces completion of Series C financing. Valuation breaks $100 billion USD. Founder Caleb Hayes named Time's most influential tech figure of the year. The photo showed Caleb standing at the NASDAQ bell ringing ceremony. He wore a crisp black suit, smiling Serena by his side. He looked confident, eyes bright, high-spirited. This photo was the last straw breaking Elena's nerves taut for a year. She finally broke down. Slumped on the cold desk, she cried loudly. She lost completely, utterly. After crying came dead silence. Drained of strength and soul, she sat there until dark. Then, as if deciding something, she took out paper and pen. She was going to write him a letter. She wanted to tell him all the regret, pain, and apology piled in her heart over the past year. She didn't know how long she wrote. Tears dropped on the paper, blurring the ink. She wrote about their first meeting, his white t-shirt, eyes clean as a child's. She wrote about their wedding, his sweaty palms, yet firm, I do. She wrote about every meal, every light, every cold shoulder he endured for 3 years. She wrote how arrogant, selfish, cold she was, trampling his hot heart into the mud. She wrote her shock at the divorce papers, jealousy, seeing him shine with a stranger. She wrote her pain learning of his allergy. She wrote about every cold, long night alone. Finally, at the end, she wrote with trembling handwriting, Caleb, I'm sorry. I know it's too late and meaningless. I don't ask forgiveness. I just want to tell you, I regret it. If life could start over, I would trade everything for a chance to know you again. Elena, who loved you. The next day, she drove personally to deliver this letter bearing all her humbleness and despair to the downstairs of C-Labs. She didn't have the courage to go up. She handed the letter to the receptionist, voice hoarse, pleading, please make sure to hand this letter personally to Mr. Caleb Hayes. The receptionist nodded politely. At that moment, I was in my home lab on a video call with Serena. She was on a business trip in Europe. We hadn't seen each other for 3 days. In the video, she wore a bathrobe, hair wet, complaining about how hard long-distance relationships were. I smiled listening to her, heart soft. My assistant knocked and entered, holding an envelope. Mr. Hayes, sent up from reception, addressed to you personally. I took the envelope, pausing slightly when my eyes landed on the familiar, scrawled, sharp handwriting. Serena on the video keenly sensed the change. What's wrong? Whose letter? I looked up, smiled at her, held the envelope close to the camera so she could see the writing. An old acquaintance, I said. Then, right in front of Serena, without opening it, I tossed it into the shredder by the desk. The machine started. That letter, likely full of regret and apologies, was instantly devoured, turning into meaningless confetti. Watching Serena's eyes light up on screen, I smiled. All right, trash handled. Let's continue discussing. For our honeymoon, Tahiti or Iceland for the aurora? Outside, the snow stopped. A ray of long-lost sunlight pierced the clouds, shining in, warm and bright. My new world was bathed in sun, haze-free. And that woman living in regret, her world would forever be a long winter without light. Serena and I set the wedding for April, when flowers bloom. The location was a private island bought by the Vance family, closed to the public, inviting only closest family and key partners. But news of the wedding swept the globe like a hurricane, hitting front pages of all major financial and tech media. Tech mogul Caleb Hayes weds heiress Serena Vance. C-Labs and Vance Group Alliance may rewrite global tech landscape. The news used a photo of us smiling at each other from the summit. This photo replaced news of Elena's company liquidation as the hottest topic among elites. Elena saw the newspaper in her father's study. The massive headline stung her eyes. Caleb's smile was radiant, something she had never seen. That light made her feel like dust. Her father, the old man who once scolded her strictly, now looked at her with a long sigh. Elena, it's time to let go. He isn't your Caleb anymore. From the moment you push him into that fire pit, he wasn't. Elena didn't speak, just gripped the newspaper, knuckles white. How did she let go? Everything Caleb had now, glory, status, wealth, and that woman should have been hers, if she hadn't been so stupid. But there are no ifs. She could only watch as the internet flooded with reports of the century's wedding. The invitation was designed by Caleb himself, a card thin as a cicada's wing with an embedded chip. When guests tapped it with NFC, a beautiful code-generated star animation bloomed on screen, forming the time and place. This alone ignited the tech world again. Serena's wedding dress was custom-made by top Italian designers, but the diamond arrangement matched the core code star map of Morningstar. She said, I want to wear your proudest work to marry you. Everything about the wedding was stamped with us, full of love and respect. Elena could only watch bit by bit through a cold screen, like a movie stinging every nerve. The night before the wedding, she dreamed. She dreamed of their wedding 3 years ago. A pure business union, no friends, no blessings, just lawyers. She wore a business suit, never smiling. Caleb wore a rented suit, standing nervously. When asked if she was willing, she was silent for a long time, until Caleb paled. Finally, she gave a cold "N." She remembered the hurt flashing in Caleb's eyes. But she didn't care. Now, waking up in an empty room alone, she understood what treasure she had thrown away. Wedding day, the island was sunny, breeze gentle. Serena and I stood under the floral arch, exchanging rings. Looking into her eyes, I made my vow. Serena, you were the only light that shone into my deepest darkness. You found me, saved me, completed me. From now on, my life, my talent, my everything shines only for you. You are my morning star. Serena's eyes reddened. She smiled through tears. They say I'm a successful investor. Caleb, investing in you is the most successful, happy deal of my life. I invest my life in you. No hedging, no exit clause only. I love you. Applause thundered. I held her, kissing her deeply amidst blessings. Thousands of miles away, Elena watched the live stream. Seeing us kiss, her heart felt crushed by a giant hand. She couldn't breathe, blacked out, and lost consciousness. The reception was on the open-air lawn. Guests toasted, laughing. A jazz band played. Serena and I changed in a lighter formal wear, weaving through the crowd. Mr. Hayes, Mrs. Hayes, congratulations. A match made in heaven. Caleb, happy wedding. We fully support C-Labs' next project. I responded with a smile, at ease. Serena held my arm, glowing with happiness. As we talked to a Silicon Valley investor, a waiter passed by head down. Brushing past, he stumbled, and the champagne on his tray flew straight at Serena's dress. I reacted fast, pulling Serena behind me, blocking the liquid with my back. Cold wine soaked my jacket. Sorry, Mr. Hayes. The waiter turned pale, bowing profusely. Serena checked me nervously. Caleb, you okay? Did it burn? I'm fine, just wine. I patted her hand, then looked at the panicked waiter. My gaze was calm, but piercing. Under my stare, he trembled, eyes shifting. I realized instantly this wasn't an accident. Who told you to do this? The waiter dropped to his knees, pointing to the shadows of the palm trees. It was her, Ms. Sterling. She said if I splashed wine on Mrs. Hayes, it made her look bad. She'd give me $1,000,000. Everyone looked. In the shadows stood a woman in a black dress. Thin, pale in the moonlight. It was Elena Sterling. She must have paid a fortune to sneak onto the island. Guests' gazes focused on her like searchlights, contempt, shock, amusement. Elena froze, exposed, looking like a drowned dog stripped of fur. She hadn't expected to be exposed so disgracefully. She wanted to flee but couldn't move. Serena's face went cold. Someone pulling such a dirty trick at her wedding was a provocation to the Vance family. She was about to explode, but I held her hand, shaking my head. I took off the soaked jacket, handed it to a waiter, and walked step by step toward Elena. My pace was steady. Every step stepped on Elena's heart. She watched me approach, watched my handsome face devoid of warmth, and started shaking uncontrollably. Fear, shame, and a shred of humble expectation she hadn't even realized intertwined in her heart. What did she expect? That I would care for her dignity like before? Pull her aside and handle it quietly? I stopped in front of her. 3 steps between us. A once intimate distance, now a chasm. I didn't look at her, but waved to the head of security nearby. Manager King. My voice was calm, carrying an unquestionable order. Please escort this lady off my island. I used please, but the ice and expulsion in the tone were clear to everyone. I didn't even say her name. Elena Sterling. I was too lazy to speak those 2 words. Caleb. Elena looked at me, lips trembling, emitting a mosquito-weak sound. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to see you. Still using such laughable lies. I finally looked at her the first time tonight. No anger, no disgust, only pure, thorough indifference. Like looking at a stone, a meaningless dead object. Ms. Sterling, I spoke, voice not loud, but audible to all. First, I have no relationship with you. My wedding does not welcome you. Second, today is my wife Serena's most important day. You try to hurt her, the Vance family will settle this account. Third, I leaned in, whispering so only we 2 could hear like a sentence. Stop disgusting me with your pitiful tricks. I know what kind of person you are better than anyone. Your regret is only because you lost a useful tool, not because you love me. I straightened up, not looking at her again. 2 large security guards walked up, grabbing Elena's arms. No, Caleb, you can't do this. Listen to me. Elena finally broke, struggling violently like a madwoman. I really know I was wrong. I love you. Caleb, I love you. This, I love you, arriving 4 years late, sounded incredibly ironic and cheap here. I didn't look back. I raised my hand to the band, signaling to continue. Jazz played again, as if the farce never happened. Guests toasted again, shifting eyes away from the pathetic woman. Ignoring is the highest level of contempt. Elena's cries were dragged further away, swallowed by waves and music. I walked back to Serena, picked up a fresh champagne, handed it to her, smiling gently. Sorry, let a fly disturb our evening. Serena looked at me, worry fading into heartache and love. She didn't speak, just hugged me tight. Under everyone's gaze, she kissed me. Caleb, she said, thank you, and welcome to my world. My world, a world open and bright, where I never have to pay for anyone's mistakes or stupidity again. Elena was thrown onto a speedboat. Like garbage, the boat sped away from the brilliant island without looking back. Cold wind and salt spray slapped her face. Curled on the deck, soaked and shivering, she felt the cold in her heart far exceeded the body. Caleb's final look was an ice pick shattering her last illusion. Indifference. He didn't hate her, meaning she wasn't worth remembering as an opponent. He didn't love her, meaning those 3 years left no trace. In Caleb's world, Elena Sterling had zeroed out. The speedboat rose and fell on the dark sea. The island became a blur, vanishing. Like her life, falling from brilliance to infinite darkness. She remembered a year ago, sitting in the car watching Caleb and Serena leave. Then it was unwillingness. Now only despair. The kind where you don't even have strength to cry. She finally understood. Caleb wasn't taking revenge. He was just living his life. A life with stars and sea. And she was just a clod of mud he stepped on before reaching them. He didn't even look back to see if he crushed it. He just wiped his shoe and walked on. When the boat docked, it was dawn. Elena walked off like a ghost. Her father's men waited. Bodyguards looked at her with disdain, but approached professionally. Miss, the chairman wants you back. Back? Where could she go? Back to the Sterling estate. Her father sat in the living room, awake all night. Seeing her ghost-like state, he felt no pity, only anger. Slap. A loud slap landed on her face. How long will you shame the family? The old man shook with rage. How did I birth such a stupid, shameless daughter? Because of your stunt last night? All the partners we were talking to canceled this morning. They say the Sterling family has no morals. Elena covered her burning face, listening numbly. From today, you stay home. Nowhere else. The old man pointed at her. I'll announce you need long-term rest for mental health. Your brother will take the company. You stay put until you die. This was a life sentence. Elena looked at her father, seeing only cold rejection. Her life was over. Thousands of miles away, morning sun poured into our room. I opened my eyes to see Serena sleeping quietly in my arms. Last night's farce didn't affect us. I kissed her forehead. She woke, nuzzling into me like a kitten. Good morning, Mr. Hayes. Good morning, Mrs. Hayes. We smiled. Outside, blue sea, blue sky. Our new chapter formally began on this perfect morning. As for the woman left in darkness, who was she? We had long forgotten. Time heals all, washes all. 2 years passed. The world changed. C Labs launched the Singularity global public chain under my ecosystem vision. Secure, efficient, practically zero cost, it overturned the traditional data industry, opening the Web 3.0 era. I was no longer just a businessman, but the godfather of this new era. My name was etched in history. My bond with Serena deepened. Our son, Leo, was a year and a half old, smart and lively. Serena gradually stepped back from Vance Group affairs, focusing on family and charity. She wasn't just the Iron Lady of business anymore, but a gentle, wise wife and mother. But only I knew that her resilience and vision were the solid shield supporting me all the way. Today was C Lab's 5th anniversary and the Singularity Developer Conference. The venue was the National Convention Center, packed with thousands. As the opening speaker, I looked at the expectant faces. 5 years ago, I was a discarded pawn in a factory. 5 years later, I influenced the world's future. My speech didn't look back, but painted the future, a world where everyone owns their data sovereignty. Applause thundered. I went backstage. Serena waited with Leo. Dada. Yay! The toddler clapped. I laughed, lifting him high. Serena handed me warm water, adjusting my collar. The warm picture was captured by reporters, spreading online. The tech godfather's soft side. This photo reached a person forgotten by the world via a sanatorium TV. Elena Sterling. 2 years here ground away her pride. She was a haggard patient. The wedding scandal ruined her. The family locked her here, claiming depression. Isolated, yet with TV, she watched the outside world, especially Caleb's world, become magnificent. She watched him, his wife, their child. Happiness she once could touch, but pushed away. Her heart was numb. Only a hollow regret remained, like a black hole. A nurse came. Ms. Sterling, medicine time. Elena stared at the TV. The nurse sighed, left the meds, and walked away. The TV switched to local news. A man in prison garb cried in court, sentenced to 10 years for fraud and assault. It was Julian Thorne. After losing Elena, he couldn't survive. He scammed to maintain luxury, hurt someone, and ended up in jail. His life, like hers, was ruined. Seeing Julian's regretful face, Elena laughed. A dry, hoarse laugh like a night owl. She grabbed the pills, shoved them all in her mouth, and down the water. Laughing, tears flowed. She was wrong. From the start, she mistook a fish eye for a pearl, and a pearl for mud. Now the fish eye broke, and the pearl shone in another's hand. Her world was only darkness. Leo's 3rd birthday. A small party on our lawn. Only close friends. Sunshine breeze. I was at the grill, failing at barbecue. Serena laughed, taking the tongs. Great scientist, go play with your son. I'll handle this. I kissed her cheek and obeyed. Leo played with a robot I built him. Leo liked the gift. Love it. Daddy is the best. He hugged me. I held him, looking at his clear eyes, heart soft. This was my everything. Halfway through, my assistant Marcus whispered to me. I raised an eyebrow. Let him in. A moment later, a simple-dressed, white-haired old man walked over. Elena's father. He looked aged, majesty gone. Mr. Hayes. He looked complicated. Sorry to intrude. Something wrong, Chairman Sterling? I was polite but distant. He handed me a document. This is a transfer for 30% of Sterling Group shares. I signed. You can be the majority shareholder. I didn't take it. Meaning, Elena. The old man's eyes reddened. She's dying. Late-stage cancer found last month. Doctor says. Maybe a month left. Serena and I were surprised. Her only wish before coma was to give you her shares. She says she owes you. Mr. Hayes, I know we wronged you. I don't ask forgiveness, just please see her one last time. As pity, I was silent. Honestly, her life or death stirred no ripple. I looked at Serena. She held my hand, shaking her head gently. Eyes pained for me. She didn't want the past to disturb me. I squeezed her hand, reassuring her. Then I looked at the old man. Chairman, I won't take the shares. Sterling is yours. As for seeing her, I paused. I'll go. The old man froze, then looked grateful. But I continued. Not for her, not for pity. I just want to make a final cut with a past that entangled me long enough. 3 days later, I went to the mountain sanatorium alone. In the ICU, I saw Elena. Skin and bones, ventilator tubes. The proud CEO was a withered husk. She seemed awake. Seeing me, her finger moved, tears flowing from cloudy eyes. I walked to the bed, looking down. Dead silence. After a long while, I spoke faintly. Elena, you know, on the 7th day in that factory, I thought I was dying. I didn't hate you then. I just wondered if I died, would you be a little sad? She cried harder, body twitching. Later, Serena saved me. I built a life. I realized wondering if you'd be sad was meaningless. Because whether you are sad or not has nothing to do with me. I came today not to accept an apology, nor to see your misery. I just want to tell you one thing. I looked into her regretful eyes, speaking clearly. From the moment you sent me to be a hostage for Julian, I, Caleb Hayes, stopped loving you. Never forgave because I stopped caring long ago. I turned and walked out without looking back. As I closed the door, I heard the heart monitor behind me scream a sharp, urgent tone, finally flatlining. I didn't stop, walking straight out. Outside, sun brilliant, sky blue. Serena's car waited. Seeing me, she hugged me. All done. Amen, all done. I buried my head in her neck, inhaling deeply. Smell of sun, grass, home. My life had turned a new page. As for that dark, painful past, let it vanish completely with that woman's departure. Story complete.